Hey everybody. So before you watch this video, I want to give a bit of context and I'll also ask for a call to action. The clarification is this, that this stream was taken after a conflict in our Discord server in which there was some really kind of confusing things going on. Essentially, people were conflating my views of integral theory with what I was trying to teach, and also some other stuff as far as like it becoming very personal. I want to make it really clear that this video is up and it's happening because I think these types of discussions are really solid to have, and I think it's valid to show clean anger. I also am doing it because the situation has been resolved since then, so I'm not doing this to target anyone or do any bullshit like that. It's mostly just because I want to let that story be told or let that be understood. The second part, the call to action, is because YouTube continually copyright claims the song on those videos, despite having verbal permission from the artist. I'm trying to fight those, but all of them are in escrow. One of them's already been denied. So those videos get no ad revenue. And while that sounds wee I'm only losing a few cents, I'm not really worried about the ad revenue. The problem is things that aren't monetized don't show up in the algorithm very well. So the request is if you really like the Integral series, consider becoming a patron. The other thing you can do is consider donating. Streamlabs.com/transgrowtherapist /tip. We would really appreciate it. Those videos take a long time to put together. It's a lot of music editing. It's also a lot of stuff I have to, refresh my brain on. So if you're really appreciating those, please consider donating. All right, enjoy the video. Folks, so I wanted to bring something up real quick because I had a real bad day on our server yesterday. Not sure why it affected me so much. I have some suspicions. But our server is usually really chill. People have good conversations. They are really open to one another. We have a really good support system. People are willing to challenge people and have different ideas. So it's not like, this insane debate lord thing. But it's also not, a hug box. 1 second. Sorry about that. My child was doing something cute and interrupted. It's fine. I do like those cookies, though. Anyway, so thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, organic fucko. I would be interested in hearing those. Anyway, the thing that happened yesterday was there was a pretty in-depth discussion around integral theory. Of all the videos that we've done, integral theory has been an interesting one because I never expected it to be a particularly large discussion. I actually debated even bringing it up because my experience with integral has not been the most positive. Integral theory, while incredibly beneficial for my own personal development, was never really something that socially was super beneficial. While it did connect me to a lot of people and I did get a lot of networking and stuff like that, the simple fact is that there were a lot of people out to make money on it. A lot of coaches, a lot of problems, and I got burned a lot. Also ended up in a weird reporter situation I'll explain sometime on stream. The simple fact is that yesterday the conversation turned from a discussion of people asking questions to people becoming frustrated and then subsequently those frustrations being aimed at me. And so I wanted to discuss this because I feel like it's a really good lesson. There were a lot of people that read that chat. I had a number of people reach out to me or reach out to Zena on my behalf. Yeah, no, seriously, Brittany, go watch the damn videos. Like, there's a whole playlist. God damn it. So, basically, one of the things I'm holding off to do in the integral videos is to go through and do and describe the theory to the best of my memory, best of my ability, And then when we get towards the end, what I'll do is I'll give some of my critiques about integral theory. Some of the critiques about its creator, Ken Wilber, and some of the critiques I have around the integral community. But that conversation yesterday pushed a lot of buttons for me. Specifically, and this is the biggest thing, is that when people displace their frustration of them not comprehending the theory onto me and then take pot shots at me, I find myself upset. Not because I can't take a hit. I'm a big girl. But the simple fact is that in a lot of ways, what I'm asking for on the server is a willingness to engage and own your shit. So I'm going to bring up some of the points that were brought up. I'm not going to bring up names of people who said these things. I don't want any harm or nonsense coming to them. I'm bringing them up because I need you to understand why I'm doing this. The reason why we are going through integral theory is, despite my many critiques about it, despite the numerous ways in which I feel like that theory has holes, as much as Wilber likes to say otherwise, the simple fact is, I think there is a use for that. Right? There's a way in which, to me, as a dumb, poor kid that didn't really have a lot of good education until my late 20s, that theory is what kind of broke me open and pushed me into pursuing my academic career. It's what pushed me into being a counselor. It's what pushed me into Zen. The purpose of sharing this is because I found it useful for my personal development. If you don't find it for yours, that's fine. But you actually have to understand it first. One of my major critiques about that conversation yesterday was the fact that numerous people in that conversation didn't know what the fuck they were on about. Now, I did my best to be calm. I did my best to answer questions. But when it starts aiming at me because they're frustrated and don't understand, or they're getting lost in the weeds, some people handled that really well. Others didn't. And the simple fact of the matter is that when it happens like that, you've now made your frustration my problem. Andy, we actually do have that as a reading list right now. That's part of our reading group. The book group for LiQWYD is what we're doing. That video hasn't come out yet because me and Zena are still making our way through it. It's been slow but surely, but we're slowly but surely getting through the book. The major thing that frustrated me about this conversation was that there were claims being made against me that I never made. The first one is that yes, there are loads of neurodivergent people in the community. The problem is that their neurodivergence is perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. I'm neurodivergent as well. But when their behavior starts to negatively impact others or starts to hurt people, at least emotionally, that's a problem. They have to own that. Well, then focus. Goddamn. One of the things that was held as a claim was that the theory, integral theory by Wilber, is not widely used by academia, which is true. Other than, I think, certain universities that are using it, it is not a widely used theory. I never claimed as such. I never said it was a widely used academic theory. I said it was a theory that helped me. But this was brought up as an indictment. What was also said is that there were individuals who perceived me as, because I was teaching this theory. Granted, I hadn't spoken too deeply about my own personal takes on this. I was just teaching the theory as I remembered it, with the intent of giving a reading list and various other things. Thank you, Psychic Refugee. The problem is that maybe people thought these were my takes. Maybe they thought that they were something, I don't know, something that I guess maybe they thought that it was something that I was trying to push on them, when in reality, this is all voluntary. You can choose whether you want to watch those videos or not, whether you want to use that mapping or not. I think it has legitimate value when used in the proper context with the proper intent. I even put forth a sort of brief rules list of ways to use this in the most effective means possible. The problem is that the framing that was used against me was that because of this, despite being rational and level-headed in every previous video, the argument is that I was not that because I was teaching this theory. And I find that really suspect. If you think that my takes, that my work is a positive, a net positive, a boon, something that can be helpful to teach people how to cope with, trauma, cope with anxiety, understand situations that happen online in a much more like therapeutic sense, and you hear me talk about a theory that I used to some degree these days for my own personal improvement and how I got to be where I am today, what that argues to me is that if you think I'm suddenly irrational or this is some sort of someone just talking wildly out of character, you're an idiot. I'm sorry to be mean, but that's how it feels. It's basically saying you're essentializing me. You're saying that I am not the person you thought I was, when in reality it's that you're not even willing to question your biases, right? Like, instead of trying to argue every single point of it, try to absorb it, try to learn it, try to grok it, try to pull it in as much as possible. And once you have it, and once you understand it, then tear the fucking thing apart for all I care. Right? Because the issue is that when you start turning it on me, or your intentions appear to be to tear it apart at every level because you think this is a debate rather than a teaching, we're in a problem. Because what's going on there is there's an assumption being made by the person or persons that the issue is on me, that I've somehow bamboozled them, that somehow I am not rational, that I am somehow not in any way, shape, or form who I've claimed to be this entire time. When in reality, the reason I became this person is partially because of interacting with this theory. There are many other reasons, mind you. Many. But I can only share so much with you at a time. Exactly, Brittany. Understanding it doesn't mean you agree with it. I think there are holes in it. I think it has biases in it. I think Wilbur was way too abusive to postmodernism. I think there was dumb shit he did when people had reasonable critique. I have issues with him. I also think he's a pretty brilliant guy, and I still have issues with him. I can hold both those perspectives. Why the fuck am I mentioning this? Because I want people on the server to do this. You don't have to take anything I say for granted. You don't have to say anything whatsoever as far as like that means that I'm 100% right. I've made that abundantly clear. I am not a debater. I am not coming out here saying that 100% of the things I'm saying are 100% have to be true. Now, if I'm talking about, say, taking down a transphobe or a trans medicalist like recently, no, I'm using as much facts and data as I can because I'm using those for the argument that I'm making. But if I'm trying to teach you something, I'm just trying to teach it to you as I understand it, and then we can go into dissection, we can go into analysis, we can go into questions. But if the intention is to just sit there and deconstruct the thing as we go, when you don't actually get it, and you've actually demonstrated in the conversation that you actually don't get it, it makes me really concerned. One of the things I didn't share in this whole discussion was that one of Wilbur's critiques, and I don't know how I feel about this, I think it's kind of yikesy, is that if you don't get this theory, or you struggle with this theory, you're not high enough in development. Now, to me, that's elitist bullshit. To me, I think there is, especially on the online left, at least a snippet, an iota of attention and interest that can make that possible. But when someone comes at it in such a formal, rational way where they deconstruct everything, hi, Emily, deconstruct everything, and rather than trying to absorb and grok the damn thing, instead it just becomes tearing it apart, asking question after question, and asking questions that clearly have been answered previously in the discussion. And then when are given answers, those answers aren't sufficient, so then it's more frustrated whinging. That's where I start finding myself really, really upset. I was genuinely hurt last night. I actually went offline, went to touch some grass. You know how it goes. I went offline. I wasn't interacting with a whole lot. I think I hopped on Discord maybe 2 or 3 times while on the offline settings to talk to a couple people I liked. Other than that, I didn't feel comfortable in my own server because the whole engagement became frustrating. But Lil, you got frustrated because you were legitimately trying. Now, maybe that's because, you know, you and I are friends, but that's not the same thing here. Frustration I can deal with. I've taught before. Tons of people are frustrated. Thank you on the curls, guys. Appreciate it. It's the issue that if your entire opinion of me changes because I'm doing this series, that's your problem. I've been consistent in my arguments. I've been consistent as to who I am, what I believe, and how I got here through the course of a lot of Zen Buddhism, integral theory, academia, and a fuck ton of other stuff. Not to mention a shit ton of drama. And the simple fact of the matter is that if your opinion of me suddenly shifts and changes because you are under the idea that suddenly, like, I'm just talking gibberish, and you're not willing to consider the fact that maybe you're just not getting it, right? Like, the level of ownership is garbage. I owned my statements in that conversation. I tried my best to be as clear as possible. I tried to restate things multiple times. On my own vacation, I went through, rather than just let the material sit there as it is, I tried to engage with people in between my free time. And I kind of got fucking burnt for it. Now, you could argue I'm just whinging, I'm bitching, when someone was mean to me online. Fair enough. And I don't mind disagreement in the server. I've had disagreements with people about Kink at Pride. I've had disagreements with people about lots of shit. And I still get along with all of them. It's when their frustrations at not understanding something I'm teaching start getting conflated for frustration with me. When that starts to become something you're essentially lashing out with. Oh, I got a doozy for you, Ash. Don't worry. But I also want you guys to have this because I think the online left kind of sucks at this. I think we suck at trying to figure out how to incorporate spirituality or states of being. We ignore them into this weirdly skeptic fucking atheist sphere, which is gross as shit. We struggle to take multiple perspectives at a time in any way, shape, or form. We'll dive into psychology. We'll dive into physics. We'll dive into fucking anthropology. We'll dive into fucking systems theory. But we never understand how they interact with one another, or we never look at them, the picture of how they function. Where is the actual perspectives that lead to those conclusions? If you want, I'll put together a fucking reading list for you, and I'll give you my exact thoughts on all of those books. I have to remember some of them, though. My point is this. I'm not the best teacher in the world. Sorry. I'm doing the best I can. But there is a point where I have to then say, if you're going to act like this, if people are going to behave this way, I'm not really sure what to do. I seriously considered, you can hear the crack in my voice. I seriously considered. I appreciate that, Emily. I seriously considered just fucking unlisting all those videos. And that's not like a backhanded threat. That's not like me trying to like scare anybody or hurt anyone's feelings. None of this is manipulation. What the intention it is that if this isn't for you guys, if this isn't something that people are willing to engage with, which is ironic as fuck, because some of the things it points to, as much as y'all don't want to hear them, are kind of exactly what you're doing. Some of those critiques might have some salient points to them, and some of the ways they engage with people should be noticed. There's a way in which interacting with this shouldn't be this hard. If you don't want to look at that map, don't. Find better ones. Find ones you like. But I'm not unlisting those videos, and I'm going to keep doing them. If they're your cup of tea, great. If they're not, cool. But when you lash out at me, we have a problem. Because I will respond. I won't react. I won't lash out. I won't do shit like other YouTubers do. I'm not saying anti-atheist, Ryan. What I'm saying is that I don't like atheism for the same reason I don't like theology. They're both theological arguments. To me, the nonsensical thing about a big daddy in the sky who's going to grant you magic wishes because you were good and he gives you head pats is just as fucking absurd as believing there's nothing because neither of those have any evidence and no one's ever experienced them. Find a person that's come back from the dead that will actually tell you what the fuck's after. This is why I became a Buddhist. Buddha was like, fuck that shit. Literally, just like, people are like, is there God? Fuck if I know. How did the universe come into be? Fuck if I know. It's the extent of it. I'm sorry, but if you're going to make a theological argument, then I can counter. Atheism is just as dumb as theism. I left that game after playing it in every fucking field. And the fact of the matter is that I do not, in any way, shape, or form, think it is appropriate to act the way I've seen some of these go. This is not DGG. This is not a debate lord server. This is not that shit. You want to have a disagreement? Cool. Act like an adult. If someone tells you to stop the first time, stop. Don't keep going. Don't keep trying to explain yourself. It's that simple. If the stuff I teach you is super useful, or you like my content, you like the shit me and Zena do, we put a lot of work into this. Fuck, we get into like emotional fights over this sometimes, trying to figure out what to do, how to include Zena more, how, you know, is this taking up too much time? Have I signed up for a part-time job? Like, holy shit, you guys don't understand like how much we try to make this as good as good of a thing as we can. Good as a problem. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anyway, the point with all this is that use it or don't, but don't come after me about it. All I'm telling you is it was useful for me, and don't fucking make up arguments that are just out of nowhere because you don't want to own the fact that you don't get it. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also ring the bell if you want to be notified of our videos. If you want to help the channel, you can donate at streamlabs.com/transgirltherapist/tip. You also can become a patron at patreon.com/transgirltherapist. As low as $3, you can support our channel. Thanks for watching.